Before we open today's valve and let this episode flow, quick sprinkler shout out.
The Fire Sprinkler Inspection, Testing, and Maintenance Certificate Program is coming in hot June 9th through the 11th.
It's 3 fully charged days at the AFSA Fire Sprinkler Lab in Richardson, Texas, built in collaboration with the Oklahoma State University.
There's no dry training here. You're tripping valves, flowing hydrants, testing pumps, and soaking up NFPA 25 knowledge the hands-on way.
You'll walk away with 2.4 CEUs, a solid certificate, and skills that actually hold water.
Hit the link in the description to learn more. Keep an eye out for the AFSA marketing for sprinkler info into your feed.
Now let's get this episode flowing.
Welcome to the K-Factor podcast, where we turn up the heat on all things fire protection. Brought to you by the American Fire Sprinkler Association, this podcast sparks conversations about the latest technology, trends, and tools shaping the industry. Join the AFSA tech team as we fan the flames of innovation in fire safety.
Welcome to another episode of the K-Factor podcast. This is going to look and seem different. We're trying a few things out. We have Hayden with us. He's our new staff member, technical staff member. Welcome. Yeah.
I'm Hayden Stoll. Come from Pasadena, Maryland. Went to the University of Maryland for fire protection engineering, and I just recently joined the American Fire Sprinkler Association staff.
Let's go. And we also have someone behind the keys now. I guess we got to make the announcement. Nate is no longer with AFSA. So we have Andrew, who has good experience in the technical background. Welcome, Andrew.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You make the announcement on our intro? You're trying to bring people down during our intro? That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we went back up. We got another new member, past member, new member. We're in good shape now.
Okay.
Yeah, shout out to Nate, though, man. We miss you, man. We miss you, Nate.
Yeah, definitely an integral part of kicking this thing off. So, but when he went to the Mavericks, when you got tickets, you let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a requirement.
So, Hayden, did you get into fire protection because you knew somebody? How'd you get even interested to go to school for this stuff?
So the high school that I went to, John Denhart and Kevin Hall, who are both technical services members for American Fire Sprinkler Association, they both went to the same high school. And when they left and joined the fire industry, I know how John got in. Lord knows how Kevin did. Yeah. When they left and joined the fire sprinkler industry, they decided they wanted to get more people, more kids involved. And so they went back to their high school and the University of Maryland, and they set up a program. So that way, anyone who goes to our high school could have this summer challenge where you can design your own sprinklers, design your own suppression system for a small little dorm. And it was just with the goal of getting people interested in fire protection. And
knowledge.
Yeah. And that worked. That got me interested in the University of Maryland. So I went to the University of Maryland, studied fire protection engineering. And then as I went to leave, where better to go? Yeah.
Awesome. So you did this challenge. What did that look like for you? And what was your first protection scheme you came up with?
So basically it's a small box, a small rectangle. It's set up into 2 rooms and it's got a partition between. And it's meant to be like a entrance to a small dorm room. When I say small, I'm talking like 18 inches by 10 inches.
So the same size of my apartment, my first house too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you had to put up little furnishings inside, and then they would set a fire anywhere in the building. 99% of the time it's under the bed, but you're not supposed to know that.
Okay. Where else in an 18-inch box would you set it?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so you have to have a suppression system for both sides of the partition, and most places would put together some sort of like Arduino unit, little perforated pipe system, something to try and dump water on the fire. Our group was like way too complicated.
Okay.
What if we take paper towels and stretched wax and we put it over sand?
Okay.
And so the fire is going to get up, it's going to burn through the wax in the paper towels, and it's going to dump sand all over the apartment. We instantly put out the fire. Did phenomenal on that end. Livability, small hiccups.
Killed everybody.
Small hiccups. But it was a really cool challenge, and I mean,
not tenable space for Barbie.
No. Not only like us doing that, and we worked with Fire and Life Safety, which was a group, or Life Safety Systems, which was a group out of Maryland. And one of the biggest things that we were able to learn from that was not only seeing our own group and doing walkthroughs of our buildings with Life Safety Systems, who was a local contractor. We also got to see all of the innovations that other people made. And so, like, some of them, like I said, perforated pipes, your basics. Other people had baking soda and vinegar in 2 balloons and a small little fan with razor blades on the edge.
That's cool.
And so, yeah, it's like, it's dumb stuff, but like it was cool to just see what people could come up with.
I also see a roof leaking situation with the sand and the wax.
I don't. Why are we hating?
I'm just saying. So what kept you going though? Like you had that summer project. What was like, this is something I want to pursue?
Well, I had always been drawn to engineering.
Okay.
Math and sciences were always my strong suit. And so I knew that that's generally where I wanted to go. And when I learned that, incredibly high job placement coming out, it's like, okay, we've got something cool. Everyone has a little arsonist inside of them.
Yeah, I love that.
Everyone wants to see some stuff burn. And our job is to put it out, unfortunately. But, happens.
Fortunately and unfortunately. Yeah.
But yeah, so like it was something cool that I saw, and it had a high ability to find a job afterwards, which, at least when I was going through school, everyone's worried about.
Yeah.
You've got a ton of people coming out, comp sci, mechanical engineering, like these jobs that were really big and everyone wanted to. And then because everyone wants to and everyone's doing them, it's difficult.
Right.
And so I saw that job security and I said, I want to go do it.
What's your favorite type of fire protection system? I know we're with AFSA, but you don't have to. You can, but you don't have to.
When I did install work, I really wanted to do a foam system just to see what the canisters were like, to be able to actually experience that. But just of what I've installed, I think I only ever did a single interlock reaction. Okay. And that was definitely the cool.
Yeah. What made it cooler than a dry or wet?
Well, it's fun to get to watch the electrical guys tie stuff in.
Okay.
And so like we also had deadlines because of them.
Yeah.
Like they had to have all of their switches and tampers tested by a certain period of time. And so like we had to make sure we were done before them. Then they would come in and we'd go over top, and it was constant communication with the electricians. And that was a cool project.
Well, not only does it get slightly more complicated, but you also start getting into, typically we're putting those in higher hazard or higher challenge areas or higher dollar values. So it's just like, oh, this is kind of neat. Not only because it's a bit more challenging from a technical perspective, right? But also because I don't know what you were putting it over, but it was probably something a little bit more exciting than your standard occupancy, right?
Yeah, that one was a computer room. And so it was a lot of like densely packed electronics. And so.
Yeah, so if you're listening, this is 2 podcasts in a row where you can work with electricians and other trades, and it can be rewarding as long as we communicate. Just want to make sure that we hit that point, because we don't do that, generally speaking, as an industry.
Communication's huge. Yeah. That's the key to everything working right, period.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether it's your personal relationship or trying to get a pre-action system into a data center, communication is probably pretty important.
And when it breaks down, so does the relationship typically.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounded... Are you good?
Well, I'm fantastic.
Right, just wanted to check in on it. So, all right. What class got you most interested? When were you like, yes, good job security. I liked what we did because we got to burn things. But when were you like, no, I'm in this and I enjoy this and want to do this?
So when we start our classes, our first class was Standard 101, just all things fire. And that was like, okay, that's, interesting, whatever. The second one, honestly, and Maryland probably wouldn't like this. The second one kind of is more of a turnoff.
Okay.
It's a very important course. It's life safety.
Oh, yeah, 101's. I think the same thing happened to us.
Going through the life safety code, you have to do it early. You absolutely have to get that in your head. But that's a slower course. Yeah. But then when we got into actual like water-based systems,
if your travel distances are okay, it's a faster course. You can change the speed in what was that?
Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did some work with Pathfinder. But when we actually got into our water-based systems course, that was definitely one of my favorites.
So I don't know how Maryland sets their program up. I can only speak to the Oklahoma State experience, but in our program, there was very much kind of two subtracks within the program. There was the fire protection side and there was the safety side. And there's overlap between the two sides. Most people decide at some point, hey, I'm leaning more towards the fire protection side or more towards the safety side.
The crazy ones go safety.
Right.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the life safety class, and I actually found that class really interesting because there was it explained a lot about how we interface in a building that I had never stopped to consider, like why we have panic hardware, why the doors swing out, right? That was stuff that until I'd sat in that class and been like, oh no, there's a whole lot of extra thought that goes into this on how people interact in an emergency, and just the whole breakdown of like everybody tries to go back to the same door they
psychology
came in,
behind
and this whole
it.
psychology behind people interfacing in the built environment. But then I started looking around and I was like, oh, this explains like everything around me. And I had never really given it a whole lot of thought. So I found it fascinating. It was a slow class. There was some very boring parts as well. But
until I opened this door, like this door swings out towards the egress path. I always pull the other direction. Always. And I get it all. Like I understand why.
Well, then there was
the life safety code explains a lot.
Yes.
I just want to throw
the
that
bow
out there.
tie.
Yeah.
Check.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It was on the wall.
Life safety. So our 101 class, which I didn't get to take, I transferred in. Did you take the 101?
I did.
Yep. You get to build
like
a little house.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You build a house, and it was the same concept. You had to come up with a protection scheme. What was it, like a 4 or 5 foot house?
Yeah. I don't remember what our scale was, but it was bigger than your little tiny box. I mean, they were probably 3 or 4 feet by 3 or 4 feet by probably 4 or 5 feet high, multi-story. I think it was like 2 floors.
Did you know where they were lighting the fire?
It's been too long.
Do you remember your scheme at least?
I don't.
Oh my goodness.
I just remember having fun burning stuff. That was the important part.
The Christmas tree burn too. I missed that one. Did you?
We did not get to do a Christmas tree burn, but we saw the video of it.
That was your intro class is like, let's just light this thing up and let's see what you think you know about fire protection. Yeah.
You know what? Now that I think about it, we might have been looking at fire dynamics through the building and not so much protection scheme for closed door versus open door and things like that.
So then you went to the field. What did you gain from that field experience?
I think a lot of it is just seeing the interface between like the designers and the actual installers.
Watch right.
Oh yeah.
I
can't upset him.
No.
But a lot of it was seeing the interface between the designers and the installers, like the communication that was going on there, seeing like what the designers' thought processes were when they were putting in different sections, and then seeing the field guys who sometimes would be like, hey, this makes sense on paper. I know we can't do this. Yeah. And so you get to see the literal phone calls that would happen back and forth between them and talking about like, okay, here's what changes we have to make. How does that affect your hydraulics? How does that affect XYZ? Like I'm taking out 2 turns. I'm adding 3 turns in this. How many 90s can I put on a 1-inch branch line? And so like there were a lot of little things that were going into the design that I just hadn't seen looking at paper.
Yeah. And then I guess also you talking through that, the fitters, there's an assumption that they just fit pipe, but you have to understand the hydraulics. You have to be able to make these decisions and realize that it's not going to ruin the design, right?
Yeah, I mean, so many of the fitters that I was talking to were, explaining like things like that and telling me about how they want to get into the design room.
Yeah.
Not only just because, there's only so long that you can do fitting for, but also just because they had such a depth of knowledge of it. And they've seen what designers are putting out, and they're like, I feel like I can help here. And it was really cool.
Yeah, that's, there's a lot of great designers who didn't fit pipe. So I don't want to take away from that. But some of the best designers come from the field because they've been there, lived that, done it. They understand that, okay, cool, the ductwork's shown here on the drawing. It's not going to be there. Yeah. So any kind of eye-opening conversations that were had there where you're like, I would have never in a million years thought to consider that until we ran across it in the field? Was there anything like that where it was kind of a light bulb moment of,
I would have never thought about that had I not been here. Or was it all fairly common? Hey, the HVAC guys put their duct in a different spot than they had originally told us they were.
One thing that was kind of funny, which was a lot of sites that we were on required you to have those iPads that had BIM on, like installed on them. So that way you could actually real time look at everything that was supposed to be up there, hold it up, say, you installed that 3 feet off. And unfortunately, that happens a lot more than you'd expect.
Even with BIM.
Yeah. And that was a really cool experience to see like what the field guys were seeing on that side. One thing that we ran into a lot was no matter what, if you were at the exact height that you thought you were supposed to be, people always were measuring off of different things and not telling each other. And we would run into each other's pipes and ducts and everything, diffusers all the time, where it's like, what height do you have here? Oh, I'm measuring at 10'2". And like, I've got you at 10'6". It's like, how is that possible? And they've got lines drawn up on the walls where they're claiming that they're measuring off of when everyone's drawing says finished floor. And it's like, there was a lot of breakdowns that were going, that a lot of difficult conversations had to happen where you're calling the superintendent and now he's got to mess it up. But it was, while there was really good communication, there was also severe lack of communication in some spots.
While you were going through school, did you have somebody that you naturally like ended up a mentor or working with regularly?
See, towards the end, Mark Hopkins.
Yeah.
I stayed in contact with him, and
Mark's awesome.
I took his class on the advanced systems course, and that one was really, really cool. And I very much enjoyed that one. So I definitely talked and stay in contact with Mark.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ken was amazing.
Yeah.
And he taught our water-based systems course. But I'd say Mark probably.
Yeah. I know they go to Maryland, but they've got some good talent. Just got some good talent. But
we'll allow it, I suppose.
How about in the field?
So his name is Cordell Beckles.
Cordell?
He was phenomenal. Yeah. I worked with him a ton. Him and Frank Jr., those two guys taught me so much about the field and taught me so much about fitting. Cordell was one of the guys that I worked with literally on my first day.
Yeah.
And we were just hydroing a system, and he told me, just bring your channel locks, and walked me through everything that he did. Anytime that he touched the system, he would stop and he'd say, here's what I'm doing, here's why I'm doing it. And it was really, really
so
cool.
That just is that's what made him good was
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. His ability to explain things in a way that didn't need a lot of technical like know-how, but if you had it, it made it even better.
Right.
And so he was so cool.
How so I think that's a big thing, especially with the older generation going out and training the younger generation, which there's clearly there's memes about it of the generational disconnect. But being able to provide that information without being asked, super beneficial.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, and taking the time to break it down in a way that's like not dumbing it down too much to where you feel like, they're talking down to you, but making it simple enough to where it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is why, right? And kind of connecting that to, oh, this is the problem we're seeing and this is how we fix it and why we do it this way. And so that's really cool that he took the time to do that, because not everybody does take that time. There's a lot of people that are like, I know this is what we do. No idea why.
And as you got rolling, how much extra time do you think it took out of his day?
Surprisingly, not that much, because a lot of it was, like I said, as he was doing it.
Right.
And so it was just like in those down times where no one's talking, no one's doing anything, he did take the moment to explain it. And I don't think it slowed us down that often.
Yeah.
And it was very, very important. And like you were saying with the generational disconnect, I think a big issue with my generation is a lot of people won't ask those questions at all.
You want to know, but you just don't ask the question.
Yeah, because they're terrified, like, oh, that's a stupid question.
Yeah.
And that's something that has to be broken out of at least my age group.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are just too scared to put forth that. And then now they get into this point where they're 3-4 years down the line and they still don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I hate to be this way because I feel like I'm trapped between the generations and understand both, right? But I think, I hate saying it, dude. But like social media is the issue in the sense that you can get so much information and learn how to do something here, but you've never had to do it or fail with it, that you're afraid that once it's here, how do I make this that tangible product? And it's something that I think both sides just have to understand. Because from their perspective, it's this guy doesn't want to learn. He doesn't ask me anything. And he's on his phone. No, there's a good chance that he's on his phone looking at a reel to do that thing because he doesn't want to ask you. And that's okay. But you got to kind of meet in the middle.
I mean, even me, like I felt like I was pretty good at asking questions at times.
Yeah.
But there'd be times where Cordell would tell me something. I'd say, yep, got it. I'd walk away. And as I'm walking away, I'm Googling like, okay, what did that mean?
Yeah. What is a left-handed pipe wrench?
Hey, so Hayden, we're talking about, we're talking about, different learning styles and, how great our teachers were. But what are some of the things that you kind of struggled with while you were going through your education?
I feel like a lot of our courses, trying to find a way to word this that won't get me in trouble.
You're outside of school now, right? Facts are facts. So I mean, I'll start the conversation in the sense that Oklahoma State taught us a lot to get to where we need to go, but we all have the stereotype of they're hands-on people. They're not the engineering smart people, right? So there's times where they introduced concepts that we needed if we wanted to get through the FE or the PE. We can understand the systems in and out, but the velocity calculation takes us a little bit to figure out and get through and sort out.
See, we're on the other side of that, and that's what I was going to talk about is like, we didn't do nearly as much with systems. We had a day where we went through and like walked through wet, dry, pre-action deluge, and we walked through all of those at MIFRI, the Maryland Fire Research Institute. I felt like it could have used a lot more.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of that has to do with the engineering side. Is like that isn't stuff that you need to get an engineering degree. Even though it's something that you should have to be a fire protection engineer. And so I understood why it didn't happen, but I wish that there was more of that.
I think it's interesting that the programs are kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum because as Josh mentioned, at least when we went through, and I've heard they've tweaked the program some to try to help fill that gap. But for us, there was a lot of classes that were, I don't want to say dumbed down because they were still fairly challenging classes, but it was more of we're going to pull some of the theory out. We're going to give you the final product and you just have to be able to apply that. It would be like calc for tech or thermo for tech or some of those where it's like, okay, I would have, hindsight being 2020, much rather have taken the actual like engineering thermodynamics or the full whatever version, not the tech version, whereas and I hate saying dumbed down because it wasn't dumbed down, but it was still like, I looked at my other friends that were in other engineering disciplines and the level of detail they got into, and then the level of detail we got into. And it's like, okay, it accomplished what we were trying to do in the moment, but then it's been a challenge trying to go back in and go for those, like taking the FE and then trying to prepare for like the PE. It's been a lot more challenging because there's concepts there that it's like, ooh, I should know this significantly better, and I just don't feel as comfortable.
Yeah, I just want to say the fact that you took your FE so far removed from college and you were able to pass it is incredible because I felt like I didn't remember the stuff and I had taken those classes a year and a half beforehand.
Well, and the number of times Josh took it, I took it once, and I was like, I've never felt stupider in my entire life. I have no desire to
when
repeat
you take it
that
6
process.
times, you don't feel any smarter. But I think Andrew's question too, and this is why we've grasped onto it here and have our lab, and why I think my career is very strange, right? Like most of my career, I've been doing hands-on training. That's weird fire protection engineer type work. Is the confidence. right? So our systems class, we started with that intro, and every week we'd be talking about them. But your final was to come in and troubleshoot and reset the pre-action. Like that was a thing, and that built a lot of confidence.
It's also very stressful.
Oh my goodness.
Coming in.
Trying to memorize basically the data sheet step by step. That's crazy. Because at that age and that point of your career, I get the concept of pre-action, but I don't know what the main train's really for or what it does. Like that doesn't, so to try to piece that. But to you, I guess you built the confidence on the equations. And that's why I think that what we do at AFSA, and especially with the education and training portion of our mission, is to help build that confidence, not for you to be 100% going in, but for you to be confident enough that you'll understand that I might not get that pump test 100% right, but I understand the parts and pieces because I have that confidence and that foundation. Super important part of the learning.
Then we can start connecting some of the whys and the hows to like, okay, this is required in the book. Why is it required in the book? To your point on fire pump testing, why are these the points that we have to hit? And then if we don't hit those points and I've got a bunch of data, what do those numbers actually mean? Because I feel like a lot of fire pump tests will enter a bunch of data. Some of it we know what to do with, but some of the information we collect and we put it off and it goes off into the void. And it's like somebody somewhere is going to do something with this. I have no idea what it's being used for. And then when we sit down and we talk about like, oh, this is what that information means. This is what it's telling you. This is where you can look for, hey, your pump's having issues. Okay, what do these numbers look like? That can kind of help direct where to dive further into that pump analysis.
So I guess good transition. We got new people on board, and we'll probably have more time with Andrew, but learning is in education is what we do. How about in you seem to be a wizard with this stuff, right? With the music and the audio visual. We're doing things, and he's like, yeah, that's not how, if I'm involved, that's not happening, right? What has your learning experience been like?
Well,
and your background.
So let me start with my background. So, I grew up out here in Dallas, DeSoto, Texas, to be exact. I went to the military. In 2012, I came back. 2017, because I was a reservist, and I was out there in Florida doing my thing. I come back in 2017, and I'm trying to figure out what my place was, because in the military, you're, told when to wake up, when to go to sleep, when to eat,
what your job is,
all of that. So being a civilian, it was fairly new for the time that I had been, in the military. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And so, I got into a lot of nefarious things, hanging out with my friends. And I really had to find my place. So one day, me and one of my friends from California, he says, hey, I'm going to go, run an errand right quick. Why don't you come with me? And so when we pull up to the place, I see it's my friend that, they come out, and I'm like, oh, you stay here? He's like, yeah, me and all the homies is in here, And so I'm like, oh, well, let me say what's up. So I go in, and it's a 2-story duplex. And he says, okay, so, half of us is over here, half of us is downstairs. I'm looking around like, this is $1 million house. There's so much talent in here, because they've been doing music and production and, all of this stuff since I was in high school with them. So I'm like, well,
they're 4 years in.
Yeah. So they're all the way, invested in it. And so I'm like, oh, wow. Like, please, somebody teach me how to do something. I'm out here, I got a little job, but I want to make some extra money. So I looked around. I said, okay, there's enough photographers. I got my own camera. I taught one of my homeboys how to pick up a camera and do his own thing. Then I said, y'all got enough videographers. It's like 8 of each section, right? But there was only one engineer.
Okay.
Shout out to Dwayne. That's my best friend.
Yeah.
Most of what
audio visual engineer. right?
No. He was just the audio engineer.
Audio engineer.
Yeah.
I was just specifying because we have the fire protection engineers, and you're not coming out. Yeah. Or
yeah. So yeah,
there's the nerd engineers and the cool engineers, right? So you had a cool engineer.
So Dwayne, he was the only audio engineer at the time that I knew of that would, he would record everybody's, vocals, mix and master them down. And, he was in my eyes at the time, he was the most important piece of the puzzle. And so I told him, I said, there's only one of you, bro, please teach me. So I started coming around more and stuff like that. And we had been attached at the hip since 2017. Towards the end, so I met Dwayne in November 2017. By January, we had to find somewhere else to go to have our studio and stuff like that. So we found a studio, and it was like a suite. The suite had 3 rooms. It had a studio A, studio B, and then we had a podcast room. We had a huge lobby, and we had an event space.
A big time now.
Yeah. So and mind you, like I had been blessed enough at the time because when you first start out, you start out, just recording your peoples for free. Dwayne had taught me so well that I could just go straight into it and charge $25 an hour. So, we once we got into a real studio space, I started charging $25 an hour, and I was still learning at the time. I was trash. I was hot garbage. I didn't know what I was doing. I was, a lot of people would have to come back, and I was so grimy at the time. I was still, hey, you want me to come back and do this? We're going to have to, it's because it's still taking time out of my day to go back and do it, but I really should have did it for free.
Right. That should have been the end product.
So I'm still learning. Like, this is my first time in business anyway. So, we're in the studio, I'm charging people, and I'm getting better as I go. A couple years pass, obviously ups and downs of the music industry. Couple years pass, and now we don't have a studio, and I'm still trying to live those glory days of me trying to, keep my part of the business alive, right? Once I figured out that wasn't the path for me anymore, I said, okay, well, at least I still want to do music, right? I went to Full Sail University.
Okay.
For audio engineering. Didn't graduate, but I did pick up, like enough because I started having kids and stuff like that. So, my family took away from school. Now I'm still going, I'm gonna still go back. Don't worry about that.
And round it out. Yeah.
But I had to take a break from school so I can focus on my family, especially because I'm having kids back to back.
Yeah.
So, but I did pick up enough from Full Sail, to know exactly what I'm doing. Plus because I didn't go to Full Sail until 2023, 2024. So from 2017 to 2022, 2023, I'm already all in doing my thing.
On the job learning.
My craft. You know what I'm saying? So by the time I go to school, it's most of the stuff I had already learned just off the rip, just being out here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from then, once I stopped going to school, I realized that audio engineering wasn't my thing, and so I feel like now that I've been forced to take a break, I can reevaluate what I want to do in my place in, music or audio engineering or whatever, because instead of engineering, I've just been producing.
Right.
I've just been dropping everybody, well, Hayden doesn't know, but y'all know I make music. Right. So, and I'm not a rapper. I just, I like instrumentals and stuff like that. And I like just the creativeness of it, and I can sit down and make a song in like 20 minutes, whether it be good or bad.
Yeah.
And
starting point.
Yeah. Just something to work on, just to keep the creative juices flowing. Cause you know what they say, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So I have to stay in that creative mind space. You know what I'm saying? And I like, whether I drop it or not, I just have to make something, and that's just how I've been. That's how it's been since, I've had my son,
So you thought you would be doing a podcast at some point?
No, I've wanted to do a podcast in the past, but I've always wanted to just produce it. I've never been the one to be like, oh, I want to be on the front lines. I want to be seen and stuff like that. I want to be a part of the operation. Doing this is cool. Being a part of a conversation and stuff like that. It's definitely new for me because I'm not the one to do too much talking. I'm a workhorse.
Yeah.
But no, I've never thought in a million years that I'd be sitting here talking on the podcast. I've done a couple interviews about my music, but otherwise, I'm in the background mostly.
Yeah. Pulled a couple pieces of information that you mentioned that I think is important as a young person. And sometimes you got to look back to see it. Is like, I was hot garbage.
Yeah.
Like my first training sessions, trash when I look back at them. And as you progress, I almost can guarantee 2 years from now, I'm going to look at what I'm doing now. And I think it's good. Like it's obviously good. It works. And I'm like, wow, I could do so much better then.
Yeah.
So that reevaluation, super important in any learning.
Yeah. And for me, I had to do a reevaluation like every 6 months.
Yeah.
Because I was an entrepreneur, I have to, as my value goes up, as I gain more knowledge, I have to reevaluate in a short amount of time because I want to make more money. Yeah. So where I was charging in 2017, I was charging $25 an hour. By the time we get to 2020, I'm up to 80, 100, just small incremental changes, so you can just gauge your growth.
And then that Full Sail, graduating or not, that formal education does help you, I think, reinforce and also show you where you're weak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, even though, at this point I really don't need it, I only went to Full Sail so I could have the credential.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of paper say, hey, I did it. Plus, my mom, none of her kids graduated college, and I want my kids to have somebody to look up to, I don't want to leave a legacy of starting something and not finishing it.
Right.
I want my children to be proud of daddy.
Yeah.
Daddy went to college, daddy did that, you know what I'm saying? And they don't, the kids nowadays is, and I'm looking, I'm 33. I grew up with some of the roughest, you know what I'm saying? And I'm growing up now looking at the younger ones and being like, y'all are almost worse than we was. Cause now y'all are doing the extras. We was out there fighting and riding and stuff like that. Now they trying to cross them out. And so I don't want my children to grow up like that. I don't want my children to grow up like me.
Yeah. Well, and I look back, come from a interesting childhood and friend group too. And the ones I was hanging with, if they didn't do stuff like this or kind of push it, they're doing the same thing. We can't have the next generation. I don't know how you guys are going to do all this on your phone, but
yeah. And the military told me, they say, you leave, you're going to leave, but you're going to want to go back. But what you're leaving is not going to be the same thing that you're going to go back to, because as you grow and you start to excel, you'll realize that, what you're going back to, those same people are going to be in the same place doing the same thing, and your goals will not align.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to, grow and let go. Because trees, they grow every year, and they lead to old, once the leaves die, they drop them. And that's what you got to do. Growing up.
Lock in.
Yeah, you got to lock in. Got to.
Andrew, you said you're from DeSoto, right?
I'm from Chicago originally, but I grew up in DeSoto, yes.
Okay. So I don't know if it fits my schedule yet, but on March 5th, membership asked me to go to DeSoto Middle School because they have it was called DeSoto Middle School.
Okay.
So I think that one. But they said they're having some sort of like career day.
Okay.
And they wanted to talk to someone who's been a fedder.
Okay.
And so
that'll be fun.
I'll be out there. Shout out to DeSoto.
Oh yeah.
DeSoto. Well, if you want me to go with you, man, I know a lot of people out there at the district.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
It's
March 5th, I think.
March 5th? I'll put it on my calendar.
Sounds good.
I bring my 6-year-old to DeSoto Rec. There's a Coach C basketball. Oh, it's so good. The growth I've seen in 6 months. DeSoto's a cool place.
DeSoto does, they focus. Well, I don't want to say DeSoto focuses on sports, but they have a really great sports program as opposed to everything else that they do.
And you can tell that whole facility too is in growing the kid too, not just a sport.
Yeah. I went to DeSoto. I played football for DeSoto. I ran track for DeSoto. Hey man, shout out Claude Mathis, man. That was my head.
Shout out today. I like it.
Yeah, shout out to Claude Mathis. That was my football coach, man. I love that man to death, man. Shout out to him. Them boys, they won state recently, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, man. If it wasn't this year, it was in past recent years, man. But shout out to them boys, man. They did something that we couldn't.
What so when a member calls, so what are you doing for us? Like, I know, but they don't. What are you doing? What have you been working on?
So I've been handling all the tech reviews that have come in since I've gotten here.
Thank you. No, I'm just kidding. We love doing them.
Reviews come in every day.
Yep. So I've been handling tech reviews. While Kevin was out briefly, I was taking over seminars. So had a lot of interface with membership there. And then also the presentations. So I made a presentation that John will be given, which is about the integration of fire alarm and sprinkler systems. And then I've made another one that I'm working on right now, which is about data centers.
Okay.
And that one has been requested a lot. That'll be in a lot of our seminar cycles coming up. And so
it's a fun topic.
Yeah, it's a really fun topic. And it's a very quickly expanding topic.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously a lot of need for it. And we're getting that feedback from membership that's what they want to hear about. And so it's been a cool experience to be able to build something for them, and then I'll get to see it taught.
Yeah. And then I'm going to, and you'll be teaching it eventually. So that's awesome. I mean, you're obviously passionate about this. And I think that's a hard thing to teach about training a trainer is you can't fake that, right? People know when they're teaching something that they don't want to be teaching. So that's a good skill to have. So what's the best training style that you've seen?
Best training
or
style?
what's best? How do you learn best?
I really like when people and trainers, professors, whoever can bring in their own personal stories to sort of back up what they're telling you. And so Ken Isman was really, really good at that. And he had a ton of field experience, and he had a ton of real personal stories that he could go back to and fall back to and say, hey, this is why we do XYZ, but I'm not just going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you where I saw 6 people fail when I was a AHJ.
Yeah. I'm
going to tell you about when I saw an engineer do something wrong and the consequences that happened because of it. And so he was talking about they measured pressures at a hydrant, and the nearest hydrant was 100 foot below the building that they were servicing. And they're like, you can't say that's your water supply because you haven't taken into account any of all the head losses.
Yeah.
And so it was a very, very cool, real practical approach to fire protection that he provided. And a lot of that was through that personal story.
Being able to tie the book or the concept back to real.
Exactly.
The other, I mean, that's not the only, your fitting's not the only field experience. I mean, you had a really cool internship.
I did. So I worked for the National Park Service in Pensacola, Florida, Gulf Islands National Seashore.
He's also a golfer, if you can't tell.
That one was really, really fun because I was actually on the island that we were servicing. It's a little section off Gulf Breeze along Pensacola Beach. And
Gulf or golf?
GULF.
Okay, golf.
I wish. Now that being
that
said,
Baltimore accent.
That being said, phenomenal golf courses.
Pensacola is good.
GOLF.
Yeah,
so
GOLF. For sure. Radiator?
Yeah.
Is it? Yes.
But yeah, so I got to help out with hydrant flow testing. I wrote SOPs for hydrant flow testing that they were doing down there. We did our pump tests for the park. That park was dumping out something close to 10,000 gallons of water a day just because of all of the plastic underground piping that was some parts it was above ground and exposed, And in order to keep their bacteria levels constant, they had to just
Cycle
nonstop
it all the time.
cycle. I mean, we're talking about 4 miles of like 6-inch pipe.
Yeah.
And so they were just nonstop cycling it. It was insane. It was a crazy operation. But I got to see that. I got to head out to Mississippi. They have Gulf Islands National Seashore stretches from Florida to Mississippi. And so I got to go see the Ocean Springs side of Mississippi. We got to go out to Ship Island, which is an island 12 miles offshore. And we got to be one of 3 people out there as we're going inspecting this PVC sprinkler system that they have throughout the buildings.
Yeah.
And that was actually a place that had a fire. They have a long boardwalk across it. And you can still see remnants from where that happened. And it was a really cool experience.
So I'm going to set you up for success on this one too. Another shout out. You're dating a fire protection person.
You're setting up so much. Just
yeah.
I am.
Welcome to the fire protection family. You're gonna get crap. There's no way around it.
I am dating a fire protection engineer. She went to the University of Maryland with me.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool because we can also like have that shared experience of talking about our projects, what we do. Like she's more on the contractor side, or not contractor, but like engineering side. So she can't tell me everything.
Right.
They've got NDAs and thou shalt nots.
Yeah.
But it's been pretty cool getting to like talk to her and hear about that stuff too.
So she moved down here with you?
No, she did just come down for Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he had it all set up. Balloons, baking cakes.
And cookies.
And cookies.
Yeah.
Flowers for days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He brought some up here.
I have got.
Well, he found a wholesale flower shop here. So
I've got
quantity.
I've got 3 more bouquets to bring in for people to have.
Okay.
And then I've got 2 that I keep for just myself.
You're a
So
flower guy?
in total, it was
Another
want
plant person?
Well, I'm not
Hush.
gonna.
Hush, Josh.
I'm not gonna decorate my office. I like it looking like an asylum in there. I want
Fire
you to.
protection.
Yeah, exactly. I want you to walk in and just feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
And then hopefully you leave.
Yeah, that's the goal. My door is shut 90% of the time.
Yeah, with your headphones on.
A little bit of music, a little country rocking.
Okay. So I mean, so out on dates, you guys have enthralling conversations, but not to the rest of the public.
Oh yeah, so like whenever you go out on a date and you like to, or even just being out in general, you like to eavesdrop on other people's conversations. Like if they try and eavesdrop on us, they're just going to be like, "That's the most boring people I've ever seen in my life." Because we're sitting there,
manifold of 6 risers.
exactly.
Wow.
I'm pointing up and I'm like, that deflector looks bent.
Yeah.
It's just it's dumb stuff, but like it's stuff that we both like, and it's a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah, at least I mean, me and my wife look like psychopaths because she's an ER nurse. So like she's staring at people's arms for their veins, right? How big an IV could I fit in there if I needed to? And I'm just staring at the ceiling. The psychopaths. So, all right. So you're gonna let me know too how it is to have a couple in fire protection, because be some interesting conversations. Now, the issue with the engineering and you're on the contractor side and you're fitting, I'm sure there's going to be some clashing, and like you're going to have with her the conversation. Like, I know that looks like that in the book, but appreciate the work. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Has it happened yet?
No, not yet. Because a lot of what
wait until she's engaged, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We got to lock this in.
Until then, you are right. But no, so a lot of what she does and a lot of what my other like engineering friends coming out of school do, they don't do sprinklers. It's kind of surprising. It makes sense though, because sprinklers are often go to the designers, not necessarily the consultants, the engineers. A lot of what they do is like just hydrants, fire pumps,
underground
tanks,
work,
hydrants, and just underground work and alarms. I've seen a lot of people doing that. Smoke detectors, layouts. Like I have not seen very many people that I know from graduating do sprinklers.
Smoke evac.
Yeah. Smoke control, a lot of that.
Any life safety people?
A few.
Okay.
We don't talk to them anymore. Yeah. They just,
they're engineers, though. They don't really talk much anyways.
And we love talking to you, Eric. We love talking to you. It's great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Accurate. So what, I guess, kind of kind of wrap this up. I feel like we've been talking a bit. I've got a couple follow-up questions. So I say kind of wrap it up, quasi kind of wrap it up. What issues from your perspective, being newer in the industry, younger age-wise, what issues do you see coming up for fire sprinklers? What concerns you?
I've seen a lot of misclassification of hazard.
Okay.
That concerns me. Especially with underclassification, like electric vehicles.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a way to safely sprinkler them.
Yeah.
Other than just dumping insane amounts of water on them for 2 hours straight.
But engineering mindset is like what people don't think of. Management programs are a part of engineering.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so the response is probably how we're going to take care of that.
Yeah.
Or mitigate that.
Yeah. And so it's just one of those things where I think that there's going to be a lot of change in the future based off of this new introduction of batteries, this newer group of electric devices.
Energy storage.
Yeah, electric energy storage. That's a great one. 855 had a total rework that they just did. And I think that there's going to be a lot more time spent on that. And another issue that you worry about is what happens if we focus all of our energy towards that and we start to let things fall off. Yeah. We start to let the stuff that has been there for years.
Stuff.
The common stuff. We start to let that slip by the wayside because we're focusing everything towards this new stuff.
What makes you most excited about your start of your career in this industry?
I think that there is so much that is, like I said, like constantly growing, that there's so much room to do whatever you want. Like they have so many NFPA codes that cover every single possible topic, that if you have a unique interest, if you have something that you want to go and see and you want to make changes on.
Spaceports.
Exactly.
Cannabis growing. All of it.
Yeah, NFPA 420. Yeah. That's a great one.
Joint effort.
There's a really cool opportunity to be able to be, even in some of those spaces, one of the few people who's studying it. Yeah. And you can be at the forefront. You can make the changes. And I think that's a really, really cool opportunity that this industry has.
Yeah. Awesome. What was one you say, 855? You want to pull up 855 for me?
855 is the energy storage.
Okay.
ESS and battery energy
That's the
storage.
thing, is there's so many, and I know I've looked at the book, but 855.
This is the one. I want Kevin to get me on this one.
You want to be on that one?
Oh yeah.
I'll have to talk to the TAC. We'll get it. We'll see what we can do. Yeah, that's a good one to be in too. Yeah, that discussion and what that book looks like now is going to be completely different in the next cycle.
Oh yeah. And just from this past cycle.
Yeah.
Like if you go there, it was skin and bones. And now it's a full.
Now we're 17 chapters in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that annex, all that explanation information's. Andrew, what did you think sprinklers did before you came here? Did you even think of them?
Not really. I know that you're not supposed to hang your hangers on them.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a good start.
Yeah. Go to a hotel and they got the little sign, don't hang clothes on there. Yeah.
What do you think now that we've kind of opened a door to it for you?
Sprinklers are not it's not to put the fire out.
Yeah.
You know, it's for suppression.
Yeah.
You know. I learned that from you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
You know,
Did he have a bow tie on that class?
No,
not that one.
He had I think he had like an orange.
The orange polo?
Yeah. You know, we sat there.
Go Pokes.
Yeah, we sat there and did the sprinkler demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did. I sat through that class twice. It was cool. You know what I'm saying?
Did you think as much went into it as does?
No. I thought that you just, you hook it up and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a pump somewhere and the smoke detector go off.
Yeah.
But
that class changed that completely.
For sure. Knowing that there's like a lot of, time and care and, quality people, behind that system, it makes me feel 100% more safe, 150% more safe. Because I'm looking up right now.
Yeah.
And I know that sprinkler head that's above our heads is in that classroom over there. And my boy Eric did a demonstration. I know I know what kind of pattern that's gonna spray.
Yeah. You know what the expectations are.
Yeah. You know. So, just being here in general, because I started in November.
Yeah.
Just being here in general, it really opened my eyes to the industry, and it just made me have a greater appreciation for the little things, because even this small thing to save, a lot of lives.
Yeah. So what if you were? I'm gonna throw like 3 or 4 of these at you. Typically it's only one, but we're rolling. If you were an NFPA standard, what NFPA standard would you be and why? Really awkward, nerdy question. I know.
NFPA 2001.
Okay.
Water mist systems.
No, you got the wrong one.
Do I?
That's your clean agents.
Oh, clean agents. You're right. You're right.
750.
750 water mist systems. So I was just looking at both of those for my data center presentation. We got them mixed up.
That's all right. That's why we have NFPA link.
That is true.
And Google.
That is true.
So why would you be water mist?
I just really like water mist systems.
Misunderstood, and we extinguish. You're a small droplet kind of guy.
Yeah,
huh?
Small droplet kind of guy. Look, it's not the size of the droplet in the fight.
It's the effectiveness.
It's the effectiveness.
That's fantastic. All right. If you were a piece of equipment that fitters use, what would you be and why?
Channel locks.
Channel locks?
Yeah.
You're that useful?
Oh yeah.
All right, you're that valuable.
They put me everywhere.
And they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And if you lose them, we just hit Harbor Freight.
Exactly.
You're also a hammer.
Yeah, I'm a hammer.
The multi-tool industry. All right, if you were a sprinkler component, what would you be and why? A water mist nozzle. Put in with channel locks that I shouldn't have used.
Let's see. I'm a donkey. All right, we'll stop there.
Yeah.
Some
of these things are not lining up.
Yeah. I know. I'm a discussion plate.
You're a discussion plate.
Yeah.
Why? That's
because
I'm intrigued.
Me too.
I don't know. I thought it was the coolest one.
Just the discussion?
Yeah.
Are you adjustable, or are we just straight up?
I'm that one right there.
Okay, you're that.
I'm that
discussion.
One. I'm that discussion right there.
Are you a listed one?
Oh God, no.
No. He's a team U discussion. That's what we have.
Black market discussion plate. I like
probably a great place. Well, you'll see him out there. I'm not sure after this podcast what's going to come of this. And we appreciate Andrew being on. So you'll see us around and more involved. Hayden will be Andrew on the podcast for sure.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you listening and looking forward to you. If you haven't seen us on YouTube, we're there now. So subscribe. It actually is a thing.
He's been waiting to use that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said it 10 times.
I know.
But this whole thing, I'm not in front of the camera person, but we're figuring it out. Appreciate you. We'll see you in the next one. This has been the K Factor Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share wherever you tune in to podcasts. Or head over to our website for more. Reach out to us anytime at technical@firesprinkler.org. Stay safe and always learn as we keep the fire protection conversation going.